Canada TV. Thank you for joining us here this morning. Dan Mitchell will step in for the Hallman Cubs. And he comes up empty with that big cut.
Important here for these Cubs hitters to just cut down their swing just a bit, especially in the early goings. If you're going to get the scope, early is better than later.
Yeah, you don't want to let Schofield get onto a roll. He'll become virtually unhittable. Here's a 1-2-3 hopper, bobbled by Duffy. Got to hurry and makes a poor throw in the dirt. Can't dig it out. Patrick Stewart, as that ball took a bit of a funny hop on Jay Duffy, rolled up his arm and then off of his shoulder and skipped the throw to Patrick Stewart, making it tough for him.
Yeah, I think Duffy did a good job of knocking the ball down and keeping it in front of him, but I think got a little bit rushed thinking he was running out of time there. Had he made a good throw, he would have still been able to record the out.
That'll bring up Andy Skelton with a runner aboard, and usually you would like to face Andy if you have to with nobody on. Drop ball just off the outside corner. Andy with that big leg kick gets the foot down early, but keeps the hands back and can handle just about any pitch you're going to throw him. There's a called strike. Mitchell, big jump off of first, but you're not going to steal on Jason Sanford.
No, it wouldn't be. That would be ill-advised for sure. Andy Skelton, a good all-around ball player.
Big cut, and that's the rise ball that Schofield is going to have to deploy effectively, getting underneath it and getting the rotation to get it elevated up and out of the zone. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Andy Skelton. Danny Mitchell aboard on a 2-out error. And the Cubs would like to break out in front if they could. And there goes Mitchell on the move, bluffing, but swing and a miss. And a good job by Schofield to sit down Andy Skelton. And we'll go to the bottom of the first inning. Mastodons coming to the plate.
Leading off for the Mastodons from East Hants, Nova Scotia, second baseman Jay Duffy.
Jay Duffy in to lead things off for the East Hants Mastodons out of Nova Scotia. He'll be followed by Tyler Wynott in left, Nick Shales, the shortstop, Joel Eisner from center field, Donnelly Archibald is the designated player today, Jonah Wright in right, Jason Sanford, and that is
SANFORD period.
Patrick Stewart out at first base, and Aaron Harvey playing third. Justin Schofield, of course, on the mound. For the Cubs, Brian Ike, Blake Underwood, and Bob Gillow left to right across the outfield. Matt Lyon, Dan Mitchell, Adam Hiller, and John Baker is over at first base. And it is Andy Skelton on the board, and he's throwing to Adam Dearborn, and this will be a different battery for Andy. And again, Adam Dearborn in the lineup due to the one-game suspension for Nick Moore. Change up from Andy, and we'll see a lot of those as Andy and a mid-style here right now, changing from being, a power pitcher over the last couple of years, or thought of as a power pitcher, throwing a lot more change-ups, off-speed, little curve spin, and almost like a right-handed Eric Urbanea.
Well, it sounds like a good evolution to the game. You come in learning how to throw the ball hard. That's usually what gets you in the circle in the first place, but it takes years to develop and understand that throwing is different from pitching, and it takes some guys a while to learn how to pitch, and I think Andy's at that stage.
This one is poked out to right, but that is going to fall right into the glove of Bob Gillow, the veteran out there in right field for the Kitchener-Hallman Cubs, and Jay Duffy lines out. And that'll bring up Tyler Wynott, and we saw a close game earlier in the week with the Mastodons with the Saskatoon Angels, and Tyler Wynott depositing a Devin McCullough offering over the left field fence. Don't know if that's going to be possible today with the way the wind is blowing. It's not gusting like it has here earlier in the week, but it's just kind of that steady wind that'll make it really tough to hit anything out to left.
Well, there haven't been too many days where the wind hasn't been a factor one way or the other, and today's certainly no different. It's already the fact that you're looking at fences that are back just a wee bit farther than the guys are used to, 15 feet, and then you turn that around, you add the wind to it, and all of a sudden you've got to change your plan of attack.
Upstairs, and talk about changing your plan of attack. You can't chase balls upstairs, and we've been talking about this all week long. For the pitchers, if you don't have to throw strikes, the hitters are going to make it easy for you.
And there was a perfect example of that, Blair, when you look at it. And of course, most pitchers know that, particularly the veteran pitchers. They will keep feeding you and feeding you that if you're going to chase it. And Tyler, why not? Enough experience to know what to take and what to swing at.
And this one is lifted out to short right, retreating back onto the grass, 2-3 steps. Adam Hiller will haul that in for the second out of the inning. Good job by Adam, because it's a big lip out there, and you don't want to fall backwards.
Well, it's a lip and a little bit of a downward slope, too, that you have to make the adjustment for. So I know usually, fundamentally speaking, you should go and run to the spot where you think the ball is going to land and then, find it and catch it. But it doesn't always work that way. You don't always have that amount of time.
Nick Shales having quite a debut here at the Canadian Men's Championship. Tied for the lead in home runs through the round robin, batting over 500. And you just about expect nothing less from Nicky Shales at this point.
Well, yeah, and you look at a lot of people talking about Nick Shales. Well, we're used to seeing Nick Shales, so he set the bar so high. He's not doing anything we don't usually see.
Here's a little flare out to the left. That's going to fall in just on the fair side of the line. Shales will pull up into second base with a double. As you talk about seeing eye, that ball just knew right where to drop on the right side of the line on the grass.
And I mean, uncharacteristically, as far as diamonds go, I think this diamond in this tournament, I've seen more balls land for doubles in shallow left field than I have in any other tournament, certainly this year. So not quite sure if the wind is playing a role with that or if it's the pitching or the hitting, but just something that seems like it doesn't happen on a regular basis happens here.
Well, I think, and part of that, Lance, would be the 265-foot fences. There's just so much ground to cover. The outfielders are maybe back an extra 5, 6, 7 feet, and that's the difference between being able to run in and make a catch and having to picking up and have the runner take those extra bases.
And I'd have to agree with you. That's probably the number one factor in that, with the fielders being spread out just a little bit more, then chances of them takes them a little longer to get to those balls.
Well, it puts a premium on outfield speed, too. The Cubs have got some, but I think that there are some defenses here that are a little bit quicker. Here's a chopper out to shortstop. Danny Mitchell, long throw, but they get Joel Eisner at first base. Strand, the double by Nick Shales. Scoreless through one complete. Cubs coming back up to the plate, top of the second. Stay with us.
Would the coaches of the Masters teams, Newfoundland 1 and Newfoundland 2, that's the coaches of the Master teams, Newfoundland 1 and Newfoundland 2, please meet a representative of Softball Canada in front of the scorer's booth. Leading off the second inning for the Kitchener.
Bobby Gillow, Adam Hiller, Matt Lyon.
Bob Gillow.
5, 6, 7 for the Kitchener-Hallman Cubs. Bobby Gillow, we've been talking about this all week, formerly a dead pull hitter, but learned to go the opposite way with it. And we've seen that a lot from him this year, flaring balls out over short and turning them into doubles with the outfield the way it is.
Well, Bob's had a long playing career, and again, when you talk about experience and different situations that he's been in, he's learned to stay within himself. He knows what he does well and what he doesn't do well, and I think he's kind of catered his game toward that. And when you got guys that are going to pitch around you or pitch you outside, you got to learn how to go that way, and I think Bob's done a good job of, staying prevalent in this game.
Swing and a miss at that outside drop ball, and if Schofield can get that one working, he could have his way with the Cubs order. That's a great pitch right there.
Well, not a whole lot you're going to be able to do with that pitch either. You're going to pound it into the ground to the shortstop or to the third baseman, and that's about it.
Downstairs, inside, tried to come to the inside corner. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bobby Gillow leading off the top of the second inning here. Scoreless, Cubs and Mastodons. We had a scoreless game into the bottom of the 11th inning in the opener here today. Blair Ezekiel coming through with a bases loaded. Was it 1 out or 2 out? 1 out?
1 out single.
Bases loaded, 1 out single in the bottom of the 11th. Colin Walsh, just a heroic effort for the Kelly's Pub Molson Bulldogs. Young left-hander went all 11 for Kelly. Sean Cleary, 19 strikeouts for the Galway Hitmen. And you can't say that they haven't been battle-tested now.
No, and I think that's the best thing that could happen to that team. Instead of running the table and not being, not even having anyone challenge you. They've been challenged early, and I think that is going to bode well as they move into the games that mean a lot more.
Leadoff walk for Bob Gillow. That'll bring up Adam Hiller. Our good friend Joe Todd talks about 2/3 of leadoff walks coming around to score. We didn't see it in the last game.
Well, Joe Todd has a lot to say about a lot of things.
Well, you would know. You spend a lot of time with Joe Time.
And that's why I think I'm in a position to say that.
Adam Hiller squares the bunt. Bobby Gillow on the move and called out at second base. Gillow saying he had the foot in and the tag was up on the knee or higher, but he's going to walk off and continue to have his say.
Well, I think the issue there was when you look at the umpire's vantage point, he's actually behind the runner. Therefore, he can only assume that the tag is slapped on at that time. Unfortunately, from my vantage point, which is similar to yours, it looked like Bobby may have had his foot in there in time, but a good throw from Jason Sanford had the ball down there in a hurry.
Well, and we talked about it being very tough to steal on Jason Sanford. He's got a gun for an arm back there and always has. Big cut by Adam Hiller. And the interesting thing, too, Adam Hiller had squared around for a bunt, and all that's doing is getting Jason Sanford up out of his crouch early. And that just makes it a little bit easier to throw when you're already coming up.
Well, you don't know if the bunt and run was on or whether or not it was supposed to be a straight sacrifice or what, but
Schofield just missing inside to Hiller. 2-1 the count. And a swing and a foul back. So there's one leadoff walk that won't score. One down in the inning. Going on over on Diamond 2, the First Ontario Alvinston Indians taking on the Bullier Rustlers. That is in the single life bracket. The winners of those games will move up to meet the losers of these games. This one is poked right back up the middle. Squared it up as that was a knuckleball headed out to center field. And Adam Hiller aboard with a base hit.
Well, you can look back now at that leadoff walk caught stealing by Bob Gillow and think, well, it would have been a different scenario had he slid in there safely. Either he'd come around the score on that, or at the very least there would be runners at the corners for Matty Lyon.
Matty picked up 3 RBIs last night in the 6-2 win over the Kelly's Paul Molson Bulldogs. That was the late game last night. Here's a chopper on the infield over to second for 1, and Matt Lyon thought that was a foul ball and never ran it out. You got to run it out, Matty. You can't assume that is going to be called a foul ball.
No, and I think that was a bit of a mental error from Matty Lyon, not something very uncharacteristic of him, but when you look at that, it doesn't matter. You got to run until the umpire signals whether it's fair or foul, and if he doesn't make a call and it's fair, you have to be down at first base.
Yeah, that indeed is a mental error. 5-4-3 on the double play. Home Cubs squander an opportunity in the top of the second on our way to the home half.
At best in front of the scorer's booth. And don't forget the tickets for the 50-50 draw. Now batting for the Mastodons from East Hants, Nova Scotia, number 12, Donnelly Archibald.
Donnelly Archibald up at the plate looks at a ball inside. Andy Skelton looks in at our home plate umpire, Mike French from Prince Edward Island. Andrew Gallant over at first base, and Bruce Beard is at third, our crew for the game today. Mike Semchuk is the off-field official. Archibald looks at a drop ball well off the corner for ball 2. So 2-0 on Donnelly. Had a nice chat with Donnelly last night at the restaurant in the hotel after the game. The only guy here with a PhD. And Donnelly now a assistant professor, I believe, at St. Francis Xavier University in Halifax. This one is flared out and over the head of Adam Hiller, and a base hit for the professor.
Good piece of hitting there from Donnelly Archibald, and just goes to show you a bit of the difference. Now, I think that ball may have gone off of home plate and ricocheted up so high, but the difference between the infield today and the infield a couple of days ago is almost night and day. This infield now dry and quick and hard as before, where everything was soft and staying down. Now you're getting those choppers that are bounding over the infielders' heads.
Squaring the bunt, Jonah Wright puts it down, but it's right to Matty Lyon. He looks at second, and then one hops to throw to first. And it's a tough second inning here right now for Matty Lyon. I think had he had a play at second, or had the shortstop been there, Danny Mitchell, his preference would have been to go there. But Mitchell, who was playing right to pull, was a long time getting to second. And it was a long trip for Danny Mitchell and his defense to get there.
Well, it was, and I think you caught Matty Lyon in between footwork, where he probably should have reset himself, and gotten a good throw over to first base, but instead rushed it just a bit, couldn't get as much on it as he would like to, and that was a tough play actually there at first for John Baker.
E5 on the play, so 2 runners aboard now. Jason Sanford at the plate, and Sandy has hit a lot of balls hard this week. Not all of them have fallen in, but he's been making good contact. Hit ball in between the wickets of Lions, and Mitchell was going to try and scoop it off to Matty back at third base, and the tough second inning continues for Matty. That ball was laced right at him.
And that's why they call it the hot corner. And I will say, though, in Matty Lyon's defense, I've seen him make that play on a number of occasions. This time around, different infield and a rocket shot, and I think maybe thinking about the previous couple of plays before had something to do with it, and you blink an eye and now the bags are full.
Well, I'm going to give Sandy a base hit. I'm giving Matty Lyons the benefit of the doubt on that. This one is upstairs off the glove of catcher Adam Dearborn. He scrambles to get a hold of it, but Donnelly Archibald, not the quickest guy on the base pass. Let's leave it at that.
No, but with this backstop the way it is, and it's metal.
It's very lively.
It is very lively.
Upstairs from Andy Skelton. So in some trouble here. Bases loaded, nobody out in the bottom of the second inning. The East Hants Mastodons threatening Patrick Stewart at the plate. An opportunity to get his Mastodons out in front. And this one is lifted up. Adam Hiller will retreat onto the grass. He's going to give way to the right fielder, Bobby Gillow, who will trot back onto the infield and make sure nobody leaves a bag.
Good job by Gillow as an infielder. The first thing you're doing is you're on a play like that, you're waiting to hear one of your outfielders call you off. They've got a better angle on the ball coming forward as opposed to going back. So Bob Gillow, being a veteran, did a good job, and I'm sure that Adam Hiller was happy to hear.
Yeah, that's a very tough play for him. And this one is poked out on the grass. That one's going to fall in. Archibald will score. And here's the throw. It's cut off by Andy Skelton and given RBI to Aaron Harvey, the 9 batter. And some production out of Aaron is exactly what the Mastodons will be thrilled to see. And they'll also be happy with a 1-0 lead.
Some good base running, too, with nobody away. Runners did a good job of moving up.
Now back to the top of the shop for Jay Duffy. Duffy lined one out to right in his first trip. And looked like he was trying to go the opposite way with this one. He's just going to send that over onto the other diamond. Threw off the first baseman for the Rustlers there. Thought he had a play on it. Oh, great change up there from Andy Skelton. Way out in front and waving at that one on the way by was Jay Duffy. Inside off speed from Andy. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Jay Duffy. 1 down here in the inning. The Mastodons a run in. Cubs outfield is about regular depth. Upstairs. Full count. Nowhere to put them. Bases are loaded. 1 down in the inning. Long look in from Skelton, and now Duffy will call time and back out. And again, Andy likely hasn't worked to Adam Dearborn at any time in the last few days, and we're going to get Ryan French headed down towards the bullpen already here in the second inning. And this one might have been ball 4, Lance, but reached out and fouled it off.
Well, a change up from Skelton, and again, a gutsy pitch with a 3-2 count, but did a good job of getting Duffy way out in front. Duffy did a good job of just getting enough of it to fight it off, and be interesting to see here what Skelton comes back with.
Off speed again. This was lifted up, and Dearborn is going to watch this one fall just into the front row of the stands, right in behind the backstop, and a good throw right back over the backstop and into play. That was a youngster who threw that one in too. Can't be older than 7 or 8.
I think it was his dad that tossed it in.
Oh, I was trying to give the kid some credit.
Yeah, I know.
You steal candy from babies too?
You know what? And no, there isn't a Santa Claus. I know.
Good battle here, Jay Duffy, Andy Skelton. Downstairs, ball 4. That'll bring in a run, the second run of the inning. Andy Skelton snaps the ball on the throwback.
A children's wallet. That's a children's wallet.
Well, he should. Those are free runs you're giving up, and Andy being the competitor that he is, you can bet he was not pleased with himself there.
So Sanford will move up to third, Aaron Harvey to second, Jay Duffy out at first base, and the dangerous Tyler Wynot at the plate. He'll be looking to change the score early here. And there's a changeup and a bit of a feeble wave by Tyler Wynot.
Well, Skelton's had the changeup working. The problem is his control with the other pitches is a little bit suspect.
Off speed again, this one upstairs.
And I mean, it's a very effective pitch, but you need to have that drop or that rise in order to allow that changeup to be effective.
Yeah, you've got to have something else working just besides that off speed. Inside, tried to come inside with a drop ball, and you move Wynot off the plate, but can't get the strike out of it. 3 balls, 1 strike. And again, in danger of walking in another run. There's a called strike. Wynot tried to duck underneath it, but a called strike, a high drop.
Well, he looked like he was taken all the way on that pitch, so.
And went down and golfed this one out to short center on the run, making the catch and diving back into first base. Afraid that he had got caught off there was Jay Duffy. That might have been ball 4, I think, as he went down and kind of 9-ironed that one out to short center.
Well, hard to, when you got a full count, the decision has to be made early, and Certainly may not have been the ideal pitch to swing at, but a late jump out there from Blake Underwood almost cost the Cubs there. Good recovery as he covered a lot of ground in a short period of time.
Yeah, he had to come in and get that one in a hurry, and now you've got to face Nick Shales still with the bases loaded. Jay Duffy, I think, winded himself there diving back into first base. He was most of the way up to second thinking that Blake Underwood wasn't going to get that and really had to scramble to get back to first despite the fact that the throw just came into the infield. Fouled off down the right side, well out of play. We've seen this matchup many times before, but not in this situation, not at the Canadian Nationals.
This is certainly not the guy you want to hang a change up to.
No, you don't want to hang anything to Nick Shales, whether it's off speed or full speed. Outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ryan French continues to throw down the sidelines. The Mastodons already 2 in the inning, and a changeup down and in. Shales reaches down, fouls that one back into the screen.
Well, those changeups always look so nice. Sometimes you figure that because they don't have the same velocity that you're able to hit it as hard and as far as you want to, but that doesn't usually seem to be the case unless that pitch is hung up right in the strike zone.
Jay Duffy doing some adjustments to the right knee brace that he seems to have on under that gray uniform, and maybe he tweaked a knee or something, Lance, going back into first.
Well, it's very possible, and again, not the warmest day, so take you a little while longer to get warm, and not only to get warm, but to stay warm. And if you got an issue with your knee, today might be a tough day.
And Jay Duffy is hobbling around out there at first. Got coaching staff over talking to Mike Semchuk, the off-field official. And that looks like it's going to be it for Jay Duffy, at least running-wise. You see him coming across the screen right now, going right to left and going left to right. For the East Hants Mastodons, for the moment, is Andy Chase, who will go out and run.
Well, judging by the way Duffy's come off the field and he's leaving the actual field of play and heading off to potentially get some attention, but he does not look like he's going to be able to field his position. Couldn't even run off the diamond, so that's usually an indication.
Well, that could be a blow defensively, but Nick Shales swings and misses upstairs, strike 3. They leave the bases full. They score 2, but perhaps an opportunity squandered for the Mastodons.
Leading off the top of the third for the Kitchener Cubs number 43, Brad Thompson.
Time for the Kitchener Cubs to answer back after giving up 2 in the bottom of the second inning. We'll go to the top of the third. Brad Thompson, Brian Eight, and then back to the top of the shop for Blake Underwood and the Kitchener-Holman Cubs, now trailing 2-0 to the East Hants Mastodons. Lance, we're just talking off air. They stranded 3, but they've also got to be happy that they pushed a couple across.
Well, I think in that situation, you got to get something, and that was the key there. Certainly could have got more. With bases loaded and Nick Shales coming up, you figure that, you're going to get something else with that, but not the case. And no one that plays this game bats 1,000, so no knock on Shales for sure. But you're right. I think Dodge is a bit of a bullet, able to minimize the amount of damage that was done.
Andy Chase stays in the game for Jay Duffy for the East Hants Mastodons. And I don't know Andy, so I can't say what he is like defensively, but I know Jay Duffy was very solid out there for the Mastodons. Brad Thompson lifts this one sky high to shallow left. Nick Shales will range out half a dozen steps out onto the grass and put that one away. No Bermuda Triangle out there with Nick Shales.
No, a good job of coming over, and the wind, of course, blowing from left to right, and I think that may have helped just a wee bit as that ball got blown just a little bit closer to Nick Shales and didn't actually find its way into the furthest part of no man's land.
Brian Knight in the 9 spot ahead of Justin Kralicki. Upstairs from Schofield for ball 1. Good option to have is Justin Kralicki on your bench. And swing and a foul back. The 1 ball, 1 strike to the 9 batter. And Schofield, this one right down George Street and fouled straight back to the screen, and that's not a pitch you want to leave up to the 9 batter. I think got away with one right there.
I'd have to agree. That's really not a pitch you want to hang to any one of these ball players here, but again, I think we had that discussion before. The pitches don't always go where the pitchers mean for it to go, and
this one certainly wasn't what Schofield wanted either, as he hits Brian Knight in the back of the right shoulder. And no different than a walk to the 9 batter, a hit by pitch. And now you got to face Blake Underwood in the top of the shop with a runner aboard.
Well, an opportunity here for these Cubs to potentially, at the very least, try and chip away at this 2-run lead. I think momentum-wise, you get a base runner on and maybe move them over a couple of bases, and then you can reestablish that momentum that you may have lost giving up those 2 runs.
Upstairs to Underwood, some action over on Diamond 2. Looks like Boulier Rustlers, a runner or 2 aboard. Swing and a miss by Underwood. Schofield a long time getting set for that pitch and then misses off the outside corner. Pace of this one, Lance, slows down appreciably with a runner on base.
That is clearly the pace. The wind's picked up just a bit too.
In tight, well, called a strike in tight to Blake Underwood. strike 3. Blake Underwood is going to retreat back to the Cubs dugout in a bit of disbelief. I'll give him credit for not looking back.
Tough to take that third pitch strike, in particular when it doesn't appear to be in the strike zone, but again, we will leave the balls and strikes to the guys in blue, and all we can really do is chime in with our opinion from our vantage point.
Adam Dearborn to the plate. Inside from Schofield, and looks like he's dialed up the velocity just a little bit here too, Lance. That pitch had some real good giddy up on it.
Well, the good ones seem to put a little extra on when there's a run in jeopardy.
Big rise ball chasing upstairs. Adam Dearborn can't catch up with that one. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 out. Brian Ite over at first base. One of the best throwing catchers, if not the best throwing catcher in Canada, in Jason Sanford behind the plate. Very hard to contemplate a stolen base. Two and 1 to Adam Dearborn. And this one is drilled out to center. That's going to get over the head of Eisner. They're going to give Ite the wave. And Adam Dearborn with an RBI double. Good bit of hitting there by our good friend Adam Dearborn.
Well, and that's more of what we expect from Deers. We expect him to settle in and swing at pitches that are in the strike zone, not chase the ones up around the eyes. And he came through in the clutch there with a deep fly ball that one-hopped the fence out in the gap in left center.
So the hit by pitch comes around to score. And Hallman Cubs get 1 back, and they've got another runner in scoring position.
Important run and a clutch hit from Dearborn. And just like that, deficit cut in half. So a different ball game now.
And back out running for Dearborn is Blake Underwood under the catcher replacement rule with 2 out. So that's a good trade too. Deersy got some pop, but not a whole lot of wheels. Outside. Opportunity for the Cubs to tie. Deep breath from Schofield. And here's a ground ball, diving play out there at first base by Patrick Stewart, and he's going to kick first base loose just for good measure. But a nice defensive play to end it. Kitchener Cubs score 1, they strand 1. We'll head to the home half of the third. 2-1 for the Mastodons.
This game between the Kitchener Cubs and East Hants Mastodons, brought to you in part by our sponsor, Jack Byrne Arena, Parties Waste Management, Edison Security, and Sportscraft. Batting for the East Hants Mastodons, number 44, the center fielder, Joel Eisner.
Cleanup man Joel Eisner will lead things off for the Mastodons here, the home half of the third inning. Their lead cut in half. Joel Eisner and Adam Dearborn having a quick little chat about that long line drive off the bat of Dearborn getting over the head of Eisner, one hopping the 265 fence out in straightaway center. Ball high from Skelton, opening up the account here for the bottom of the third inning. And a little dribbler out to Andy. He'll turn and fire to first for the easy first out.
Number 12, the designated.
So Donnelly Archibald will come back up. Donnelly singled and scored in the second inning. And a strike poured in from Skelton. And this one is lifted up to deep left field, out onto the track, and about halfway across the track, making the grab, Brian Knight.
And again, I think that wind certainly a factor there, as Donnelly Archibald got a lot of that pitch. And forget the fact that if the fences are at regulation depth, that's a home run. But even here, that ball looked hit hard enough to find its way over the fence, but not the case.
HVW 916, a blue Subaru, license HLC 784.
So Jonah Wright steps in now. His second look at Andy Skelton. And he looks at a high drop out of the zone. Reached base on an error, and his last at bat came around to score.
Another good changeup from Andy Skelton, just doing a great job of keeping these hitters off balance with the off speed.
Just don't fall in love with it, that's all.
Well, there's another one even slower and strikes out Jonah Wright. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Mr. Wright. You are down on strikes this time. A 1-2-3 inning for Andy Skelton and the Cubs. They'll go to the top of the fourth inning looking to get back to even.
Leading off the top of the fourth inning for the Kitchener Cubs.
Andy Skelton will come up to the plate after having a really quick top of the, or rather bottom of the third inning. So Andy up here in the top of the fourth.
Well, I think that was just what the Cubs were looking for. A nice quick inning after you put up a run and cut the deficit in half. You got Andy go out there, quick 1-2-3, and now you're right back up at the dish.
You know, Andy would love to get into one and tie this game all by himself. This is a double life game. The winner will advance to play the Galway Hitmen in the undefeated game tonight. The loser will drop down and play the winner of one of the single life games. Schofield challenges on the outside corner, and swinging right over the top of that good drop goes Andy Skelton.
Well, that's one of the reasons this is such an important ball game. It means you can have a lapse and still potentially live to play another day.
Again, the drop on the outside corner. Skelton looks at this one for strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Andy Skelton here in the top of the 4th. Off the outside corner. Andy's got too good of an eye to chase after that pitch. Beaulieu Rustlers look like they're celebrating a win over on Diamond 2, eliminating the First Ontario Alvinston Indians. Jason Sanford thought he had strike 3 there, about to celebrate by throwing the ball down to third, but has got to pump it back to Schofield instead.
Well, Jason's been known to get a little over exuberant and throwing that ball down there and getting a call sometimes.
It works sometimes, but not here. And there's called strike 3, or swinging, and there's the exuberance as he fires that one out to left field right over the head of the 6'2" Aaron Harvey. And you know how big Aaron Harvey is. You shared a back seat with him.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do know how size-wise, there was a couple of guys that filled that back seat quite easily.
Aaron Harvey and Tyler Wynot stranded in Moline, Illinois, and made an emergency call to us at 1 in the morning looking for a drive to Chicago. And being good fast pitch fellows that we are, we couldn't leave them there in Moline.
No offense, but we is French, and I wouldn't have left them, but I probably would have traded seats with you since you so graciously offered to take the passenger seat as opposed to being in the back with those big fellas. So
So put an even bigger guy in the back is what you're saying.
Well, I think I went to the back because I understood that was really the only option, but had you been in the driver's seat where you belonged, we could have put Chris in the back and me in the front.
Oh, there was no way I was getting into the driver's seat under those conditions.
No, that was probably the right decision as far as being responsible goes. Whether or not it was a responsible decision for you to give up my spot, that remains to be seen, but at the same time, I wouldn't have left those guys stranded either. So.
Bobby Gillow at the plate. Bobby reached on a walk, but was then caught stealing in the second inning. And this one fouled off at the plate. Yeah, our good friends at American Airlines had no compunction about leaving anybody stranded anywhere a couple of weeks ago.
I don't really have too much to say good about American Airlines. Maybe if I take another trip on that airline. Oops, sorry. Probably not going to happen.
No, you and I will not be frequenting any American Airlines space anytime soon. Our friends the Pigeons have returned to the infield right in behind Aaron Harvey. You'll see them packing away.
Well, they're probably saying, what are these guys doing here again? We come here every day.
Gillow asks for time, doesn't get it, swings and misses. And that's a good lesson for you youngsters out there. When you ask for time, you have to remember you're asking for it. You don't automatically get it. And you can't take the hand off the bat and be expecting to not have to continue play.
Well, a couple of mental errors from two of the Cubs veterans. First, Matty Lyon at the first, and now you look at Bob Gillow. In his defense, he knew that he wasn't getting time and swung the bat, but you got to figure pretty late for you to be asking for it.
Adam Hiller at the plate, called strike on the outside corner. And this one inside from Schofield. Lance, I'm just looking at that right side batter's box too, and it looks pretty perilous. Hiller almost looks like he's on an incline.
Well, I mean, I can look at a number of different players that go up there, and no offense to you, but you're a guilty party. You come in and you take out half the dirt that's actually in there that's supposed to make it an even batter's box. Guys dig it out. I don't know why, but guys dig it out and get comfy. And
here's a 1-2 hopper out to Andy Chase. He retreats backwards, which often doesn't work, but able to make the play. And 4-3, a 3-up, 3-down inning for Schofield and the Mastodons. They answer right back. We're going to go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Still 2-1 for the Mastodons. Seven, 8, 9 for the Mastodons here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Sanford, Stewart, and Harvey. And I guess Lance had somewhere to go in a hurry because he just left. Everything okay? Our crowd might fall off, or you disappeared in a hurry. Sanford lifts this one up on the infield. Matty Lyon will grab that in foul territory.
No, wanted to quickly go out there and get an injury report on Jay Duffy just to see if there was a possibility that he was going to return to the game. Says that his knee continues to lock up on him, so he'd love to get back out there. But again, a little bit of a light drizzle coming down too. Weather not helping him out, that's for sure.
No, that is not going to make things any better. Inside from Skelton to Patrick Stewart. Ryan French continues to throw down the right field line for the Kitchener Cubs. He's got the jacket off now. And here's a 1-2 hopper out to short. Danny Mitchell. Strong throw over to first to get Patrick Stewart. And 2 quick outs for Andy here in the fourth.
Well, Danny Mitchell, one of those players, we know what he can do in the circle. We know what he can do at the plate. Can he do it at short? And that's what our discussion was earlier on. And one of those guys that you put him someplace and he may not be the prototypical, but certainly can get the job done.
Aaron Harvey had an RBI single in the second inning to score Donnelly Archibald, batting here with the bases empty and 2 out. And 2 successive changeups. And if I'm Aaron Harvey, I'm asking for a phone pole right now to try and hit one of those.
Well, and Andy's been very consistent with that.
Even slower. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I think Aaron Harvey might want to break that bat over his knee right now. That was impressive from Andy Skelton. Aaron Harvey saying not fair.
Where are they going? For the ballroom. What field are they on? So that I know where to sit. You're going to be on that one?
We're on that one.
One Indian drink?
Oh, I know.
Go here then. Here.
Leading off the fifth inning for Kitchener, third baseman Matt Lyon.
Slide to 5, top of 5 for Matt Lyon. And Matty had a tough at bat, let's just say, in his last trip.
Well, he had a tough inning in the first inning for sure, and definitely in his last at bat. Rule is run out the ball, and I think he's had enough time to think about that, and I'm sure that we won't see that happen again.
Call to strike. Matty typically a pull hitter from center to left. Little off-speed drop ball from Schofield. Just took a bit off of that one. But it'll even the count at 1-1. Got a lot of players milling around watching this one. A lot of buzz was here at the park after that 11-inning game this morning. Lions fights this pitch off, foul.
Put a dent in a white panel van over just behind the Cubs dugout.
I'm sure he's glad he parked there for the 2 minutes that he's been there.
Well, you're right, and one of the guys went over to inspect to see if there was a mark, and there's definitely a mark.
Oh yeah, that left a mark. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Matty Lyon, leading things off here. Top of the 5th inning. Cubs trailing by 1. And this one is laced out to the gap. That's going to get cut off on a slide, and a good play out there by the right fielder. Jonah Wright making sure that ball didn't get to the fence, but Matty Lyons aboard with a leadoff double, and a good bit of hitting there by Matty Lyons. That pitch out over the plate from Schofield, and just put the bat out there and poked it out to center right.
Well, Schofield looked like he put a little extra on that, and you got to know that a guy like Matty Lyons going to like it quicker rather than slower, and took that pitch and drove it out there into right field. So Matty Lyon appears to be back on track.
Brad Thompson, the designated player. Plenty of pop in the bat from Topper. You leave something out over the plate, he can crush the ball. Squares to bunt and then pulls it back. Nobody around to hold Matty Lyon close to second. So some small ball philosophy. Where was Doug Eit when we needed him 2 hours ago?
Well, you know what? I think he understands. You're trailing by a run here in the 5th. Pitchers seem to have settled in just a bit, and nothing better than putting the pressure on the defense.
Topper again squares and goes after this one, and I think that was fouled down into or off of Jason Sanford.
I think he might have caught that around the hand area.
Yeah.
A bit of a foul tip. And
he's nursing that right hand, I think.
And you know it's important to go for a bit of a walk, at least until you can get some feeling back in it.
Yeah. Mitt full of bumblebees right now.
Nothing, though, that I'm sure Jason hasn't felt before or had to deal with. A lot of anyone who goes behind there, you know there are plenty of occupational hazards. And
yeah, you know you're going to take a beating back there. Jason Sanford does the job better than just about anybody, but he's going to draw a visit from the coaching staff and just see how their catcher is.
Well, because he's so tough, you got to figure it really got him in a good spot, or he wouldn't be making a big deal of it. I've seen him shrug some stuff off and just kind of go about his business and sit in a broadcast booth and go, man, that's going to hurt not just in the morning, but now. And the question will be with it being on, I believe that's on his throwing hand.
Yeah, he's been out there flexing the fingers on the right hand. The way he held it up to the coach, I wondered if it got him on the wrist or maybe the back of the hand. And listen, you can't replace Jason Sanford behind the plate. He is, one of the 3-4 best catchers in the world.
Well, he's also calling a hell of a game out there, too, and doing a good job of bringing Schofield along. And
that's the thing. I know that Tyler Wynot can catch, and no slight to Tyler intended whatsoever, but there's Jason Sanford and Ryan Boland amongst Canadian catchers, and then there's everybody else. Thompson pulled the bat back, but Schofield gets a called strike at the top of the zone. So 1 ball, 2 strikes on Brad Thompson.
I like the philosophy trying to get that runner over with nobody out. You get him over to third, and you really have to make the defense work. Problem is the second part of the equation is the execution, and Thompson not able to do that.
Swing and a miss, drop ball downstairs, and a good one from Schofield. Strikes out Brad Thompson. That'll bring up Brian Eit. Brian was hit by a pitch and scored the Cubs' lone run 2 innings ago in the third.
Brian Eit.
So Matty Lyon, excuse me, Matty. A leadoff double, and then the strikeout to Brad Thompson. And a high hopper on the infield. Andy Chase will come across and make the play, and he's done all right defensively over there.
Well, that's one of those pretty generous hops, too, when you look at it. The last time we seen it skip like that, it ended up out in shallow right field for a base hit. This time, no. Andy Chase able to time it perfectly, charging the ball and get it over to first in time.
Matt Lyon moved up to third on that chopper on the infield. So Blake Underwood, top of the shop, third look at Justin Schofield. Opportunity to tie the game. Matty's got decent wheels, might be able to score on a pass ball if it takes a bit of a ricochet or a wild pitch. And Schofield's best pitch, of course, is that good hard drop. Underwood caught looking back in the third inning. And that pitch inside. Scoreboard showing 2-2, Lance. There's only been 2 pitches thrown to him.
Well, I think what's happening with the scoreboard is they're sort of up doing a couple things at the same time. So, unfortunately, not 100% reliable from our vantage point.
There's a called strike. I've got it at 1-2. I don't know if that's what you've got, 1-2 as well. So 1 ball, 2 strikes to Blake Underwood. 2 down here in the inning. Matt Lyon, a leadoff double, advanced to third on the ground out by Brian Eit. Top of the shop, Blake Underwood trying to bring home this tying run for the Kitchener-Hallman Cubs. Man, this one upstairs but fouled off.
Well, you got to figure this is a big run for the Cubs. They need a clutch 2-out hit or a break some way, shape, or form. But you look at getting a leadoff double from Matty Lyon and squandering that. And the way Schofield's looking as we move along here in this ball game, you got to figure it's going to be awfully tough to get base runners aboard.
No, you do not want to squander opportunities like this. They're only going to come around once every so often. Swing and a miss. Down goes Blake Underwood. Justin Schofield reaches back, shuts the door tight on the Kitchener-Hallman Cubs here in the top of the 5th inning. We'll continue to slide to 5 as we'll head to the bottom half. Stay with us here at Ballpark Broadcasting. Ryan French on to pitch here in the bottom of the 5th inning. So Andy Skelton goes 4, gives up the 2 runs. He'll be on the hook unless the Cubs can tie.
We'll give Andy Skelton some credit. Turned out to be a pretty good ball game for him, with the exception of that 2nd inning where he gave up those couple. He was pretty much lights out in the 3rd and the 4th. Surprised not to see him come out here for this inning, considering in the 3rd it was a 1-2-3, in the 4th a 1-2-3. So either way, maybe you're thinking ahead and what the possibilities might be if you don't pull out a victory here, or if maybe Andy just got tired.
Well, when you look at the way that the Scarborough Force used their pitching staff all year, where Andy spent the bulk of the season, and we're going to get a pitching lesson here for Ryan French from our umpiring crew. Andy Skelton and Juan Podolicio and Eric Urbanea essentially all went 3-2-2 almost the entire season. So for Andy to have gone 4, he didn't really get to do much more than that over the bulk of the season for the Force. Andy Skelton will stay in the game, however. Of course, you're not going to take his stick out of the lineup, so he will move over to first base. John Baker, who had been the or the defensive-only player, will be replaced by Ryan French on the lineup card. And again, this has been the pattern here for the Cubs most of the week as well. Andy getting through 3-4 innings and then moving over to first base. Bunt attempt from Andy Chase.
Well, sometimes it's not nothing wrong with going with that pattern, regardless of what the guy's doing. That way you're able to manage innings a little bit better with your staff, and if that's what works for the Cubs, then they should stick with it.
Well, got them this far. They were a little slow out of the gate. There's a changeup called strike 3, a good one from Ryan French, who's always got that in his repertoire as well.
Certainly a good pitch. I think that we've seen a few of these pitchers doing a good job of utilizing that changeup, using it in the right situation at the right time. And of course, Andy Skelton took that to another level, throwing 3 in a row, but managed to get the strikeout nonetheless.
Frenchie's got some really good heat. He'll be amongst the hardest throwers here in the tournament. When you talk about the hard throws, you think of guys like Dustin Cashane, Ryan French is up there, Donnie Scott still throws very hard, and then able to dip in with the changeup right there, and that can be just a devastating pitch. Swing and a miss there. Tyler, why not over the top? 1 ball, 2 strikes. And thank you to Janet Boland, just like a hurricane in and out, and drops off some food for us here in the booth and just continues to treat us very well. Singled right back up the middle for Tyler. Why not?
I'm not sure if you would classify this as God's country, but I tell you, that Janet Boland, she's fallen down from heaven because, man, oh man, her hospitality since we've gotten here has been unbelievable, as has some other individuals as well, and they've done a really good job of making us feel welcomed here and make us feel like we don't want to go home.
Well, our good friend Chris Abbott, who picks us up every morning, brings us to the park, works the games with us, as Nick Shales laces this one down the right side and sends some people scattering who are leaning on the fence. Our other good friend, Mr. Steve, has become almost your personal chauffeur, certainly in the afternoons. Shales reaches out, pokes this one past Danny Mitchell, and stumbling coming around second and now having to scramble back goes Tyler Wynot. Threw out the anchor, dug in deep, going around second. He probably stepped into that pit where the guys from the previous game were hopping out to for 5 straight innings.
Looks like he might have caught the spectators row there, but either way, and Mr. Steve is not classified as my chauffeur by any stretch, but he's done a heck of a job of getting me to and from where we need to go, and very appreciative of that. He's been a top-notch guy, and as have everybody here during our 3-day stay.
Now, the Newfoundland hospitality is something that they're well known for, and that is a definite well-deserved reputation. Joel Eisner fouls this one off into the screen on the right side, and he is an imposing figure at the plate, Lance. Not your prototypical center fielder. Looks more like a middle linebacker.
Well, I think if you initially saw Joel not on the diamond, you would think, well, probably third, maybe first, or maybe he catches, but to be in center field, that's pretty impressive in itself. Means he can get around and get around quick.
So 1 down here in the inning, but a couple of runners aboard and a good opportunity for the Mastodons to extend their lead. Ryan French, a little bit of trouble here as he's coming to the game, and this one skips away from Dearborn, but able to track it down before anybody can advance. Tyler Wynot at second, Nick Shales at first. And Joel Eisner at the plate looks at a ball down from Ryan French. 2 balls, 1 strike, a good count here for Joel Eisner. We've seen him belt a bunch of balls out to left center. 3 balls and 1 actually. Chases upstairs, what would have been ball 4.
That's exactly what he's saying to himself.
So full count, 1 down, 2 runners aboard. Mastodons looking to extend this lead here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Upstairs again, go right back to it, and he'll sit down Joel Eisner. 2nd strikeout of the inning for French.
Now batting number 12, designated.
And that'll bring up Donnelly Archibald. Arch 1 for 2. He's hit 2 balls very hard today. The last trip, he sent one a long, long way to left field out on the track. But the wind now gusting, I think, more so than it has at any point here today.
No, you're certainly right about that. And again, I think the thought process, like you guys alluded to earlier, should be hard on the ground or line drives, because anything up in the air is probably going to get pushed down.
French, another long look in. And this one chopped foul at the plate. So 1 ball, 1 strike to Donnelly Archibald. Lance, this game certainly had some ebbs and flows. The Mastodons getting 2, the Cubs 1 back, and then a couple of squandered opportunities by each team. This one skipped in, and a good job by Dearborn to block that from going to the fence. And French, despite the strikeouts, has kind of struggled to find the zone.
Well, yeah, and we saw that earlier in the week, trying to get comfortable on the mound. This time here, it could be the weather that is playing a bit of a role there, as far as some of these guys taking a while to find a bit of a groove. And French, of course, like you said, initially went down, warmed up with the jacket on, then came back, warmed up with it off, and here he is in the ball game.
Upstairs, ball 4. Good at bat by Donnelly Archibald. Didn't offer at anything that was close. And works a 2-out walk to load the bases for Jonah Wright.
Well, you got to figure that no safety in 1 run here. And if the Mastodons can get a clutch hit here, go a long way to putting the pressure back on the Cubs.
Called strike on the inside corner. That's a good pitch from French. And that looked to be almost the identical spot, but must have just been off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jonah Wright. He reached on an error and then came around to score in the 2nd inning, struck out in the 3rd. The 1 ball, 2 strikes on Jonah Wright, the right fielder for the Mastodons. If it gets that far, Jason Sanford is on deck. Upstairs, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, Ryan doing a good job of being very deliberate here. A very important part of this ball game here. And you got to want to make the right pitch.
Shakes 1. There's a nod. Strike 3, inside drop ball, ties up Jonah Wright. They leave the bases loaded in the bottom of the 5th inning, with the Mastodons still clinging to that 2-1 lead.
Leading off the 6th inning for the Kitchener Cubs, the catcher, Adam Dearborn.
Adam Dearborn has the only RBI of the game for the Kitchener-Hallman Cubs, slugging a double over the head of Joel Eisner. That was way back in the 3rd inning to score Brian Ite. That's the only run that they've got. Justin Schofield has done a very good job out there for the Mastodons. And foul that one off. Dearborn choked up a little bit. I don't always remember him choking up like that, but certainly seemed to work for him the last trip.
Well, that was a bit of a surprise, too, and you look at that and know that when you choke up a bit on the bat, you take away some of the power, but he laced one to left center that hit the base of the wall, so certainly worked for him, and again, you see someone choked up like that, you got to be thinking outside corner right off the bat if you're part of the battery.
Well, that's where they go, and there's a high hopper. That's foul, intercepted by Jason Sanford.
Well, you can bet Jason's doing a good, thorough examination of Dearborn, where he stands in the box, and all his tendencies as he's calling the pitches.
And upstairs from Schofield, and that one's fouled right back to the screen.
I'm not sure if the rise ball is the way to go. That's the pitch that Deersey placed out there for a double. Not sure if you're going to want to go with that rise ball again. I think you might be a little more effective with a drop ball outer half of the plate, but once again, Sanford knows his pitcher much better than I do, and we'll see what he decides to go with as their bread and butter.
Well, and that's where we talked about that rise ball with Justin Schofield. He's really got to get underneath it and get the spin on it and elevate it up and under the zone, because otherwise you're really just throwing a fastball, and it doesn't matter how hard you throw, guys are going to get around on you. One ball, 2 strikes on Adam Dearborn, leading off the top of the 6th inning. His Kitchener-Hallman Cubs trailing 2-1 to the East Hants Mastodons from Nova Scotia. Swing and a miss on an outside rise ball. That one was off the plate.
Good pitch there from Justin Schofield. Took a little bit off and floated it, made it tempting enough for Dearborn to go chase it, even though it was clearly out of the strike zone.
Danny Mitchell reached on an error in the 1st and then grounded out 3 unassisted back in the 3rd, but that was a really good play by Patrick Stewart to end the 3rd inning. He laid out with the dive to his right. Called strike. Not sure Patrick Stewart is expecting a bunt here from Danny Mitchell, but he was in about 12, 13 feet from first base. Comes right back to it again. And just off the outside corner, boy, I think everybody in the infield thought he had the strike there.
Looked like a pretty good pitch.
Upstairs from Schofield, 2 balls and 1. Mitchell, bat held high, swing and a dead ball foul, I guess, at the plate. Just grounded that one straight into the ground. So now 2-2.
Now a bit of a big looping swing there. Tough to get around on a lot of these guys here. It's not like Major League Baseball where your mound's back quite a bit. These guys are on you in a hurry. Don't have a whole lot of time to do a whole lot of things.
This one is lifted up in the infield. Andy Chase to the edge of the grass and will make the catch. Got to be careful out there. You talked about it earlier, Lance. There's the lip, and then it slopes downward pretty quickly into the outfield grass.
Well, I was watching Andy Chase, and clearly Andy's played the infield before, did a good job of lifting up his feet just a little bit higher, going backwards, and did a good job of settling under that high pop-up, which isn't always so easy when it's wind-aided.
Andy Skelton, 2 strikeouts on the day. Swing and a miss, and that's that outside drop ball. They've handled Andy all day long out there with that pitch.
Probably a good idea to stick with the game plan, too. If it's working, don't change it. A good hitter like Andy Skelton, you give him something or make a mistake, and that'll be it.
Took a little bit off that outside drop, but this, again, a little bit further outside. And, you know, Jason Sanford is going to extend the zone as far out there as he can go.
Well, I think now you got 2 pitches to work with, and I don't think you go anywhere else but where you just went for those previous 2.
Well, the only thing you might see would be the rise ball further off to the left than even those drop balls. Or they could come in and try and jam them with an inside rise.
Not sure if that's the best way to go. Very easy to make a mistake when you're coming inside. When you've got an 0-2 count, you've got some leeway, there's nobody on base. So even if you do get it too far out that Sanford can't put a glove on it, you're not going to get yourself hurt in any way.
Now I look to them to go right back to that outside dipper here. There's the setup. You see Sanford creep out that way just a little bit. There's actually a high drop. So 1 ball, 2 strikes to the very dangerous Andy Skelton. Up and in. Skelton had to dance out of the way of that. 2 balls, 2 strikes now.
Well, maybe that's a good setup pitch. Now you come back with that low drop on the outside corner. You've let Andy know you're not afraid to come in on him and pitch it tight, and you're willing to use both sides of the plate. Good time here for Scof to maybe go back with what worked in his first 2 pitches.
Here are your starting lineups.
2-2, 2 out, nobody aboard. Andy Skelton, the cleanup batter for the Kitchener-Hallman Cubs here in the top of the 6th inning. And there is the outside drop. Andy says the scoreboard says 3-2, but it's the umpire's count is the one that matters. And it's 2-2. You just saw him motion to the blue, saying, yeah, but the scoreboard says 3-2.
Doesn't mean you pick up a free ball there, my friend. Nice try, though.
It's a good effort.
Good try. You never know. Someone might be napping.
Yeah, he and Sandy are going to share a laugh over it, too. National team teammates.
Pitcher number 2.
So now full count. And now they go back to the outside drop, but able to lay off of it, Andy Skelton. And 3 wasted pitches, I almost think there, Lance. They could have gone back to that outside drop at any time and just chose not to.
Well, I realize that Andy Skelton's a very good hitter, but you've clearly had the advantage, and I felt that when you have that advantage, you should continue to work it until he at least proves that he can get a bat on that and maybe foul it off. Instead, you came in and then back out, couldn't find the plate after that.
Bobby Gillo walked and struck out.
The center fielder number 43, Jeff Donaldson. Batting first for designated.
And here's a 1-2-3-4 hopper out to Andy Chase. Can't get it out of the glove in time, and the throw. The throw was offline, and Andy Chase, E4 at a very inopportune time, much like a ringing phone.
Well, I mean, it was a tough play, but he had plenty of time to get the throw over there and wasn't able to get a good one. I mean, Patrick Stewart, a big target there, just not able to squeeze that, and you've now taken what is a ground ball, should have been out of the inning, and now there's runners on the corners and a chance here with a hit to tie the ball game.
Kyle Crawford emerging from the Mastodons dugout, and they will hurry themselves to get down to the left field line. Not sure why. That's not really on Justin Schofield. And a pinch runner coming out for Bobby Gillo, it looks like, as well. Bobby doesn't have the legs that he used to, although apparently he was fine to try stealing in the first or the second inning.
I don't know if Bobby's going to appreciate you talking about his legs like that. You've been doing an awful lot of running out there and right, and his stolen base attempt, and I say attempt, I thought he was in there. So, his old legs are working, but I'm not quite sure why you'd sort of push the big red panic button when Schofield's done the job and his defense there let him down on that occasion.
Well, Justin Kurlicki, that's actually a pretty good trade, Bobby Gillo, for Justin Kurlicki out on the bases. Kurlicki, very, very quick. Swing and a miss by Adam Hiller. Nowhere near that outside drop ball from Justin Schofield. Again, bread and butter pitch.
Well, if it's working for you, you should probably stick with it instead of trying to be so overly fine. And sometimes you can overthink things and they become more complicated than they really need to be.
And this one is laced out to the gap. That's going to score one for sure. Kurlicki's on wheels coming around third. He's going to score easy. And into third base with a sliding triple goes Adam Hiller.
Good piece of hitting from Hiller, but I have to go back. I think that's a mistake. You had him with the low drop. You came back with something up and in the middle of the plate, and Hiller did a good job of driving that one for extra bases. And what could have been an inning where you're sitting in the dugout now or up to bat, instead got a tie ball game with the go-ahead run standing at third.
Actually 3-2 as both of those runs came around. So 3-2, the walk and the error, both with 2 out, and the Cubs take advantage.
I stand corrected. You're absolutely right.
So Matty Lyon, who had 3 RBIs last night late in the game for the Cubs, as they scored 4 in total in the 6th and the 7th. They've already got 2 here in the 6th, now trying to add to it. And Schofield, who was almost out of this inning, here's a bleeder out to short. Nick Shale sure-handed, and he gets the out at first. But a 2-out walk and a 2-out error, followed by a triple by Adam Hiller. 2 RBIs for Adam, 2 unearned runs for the Holman Cubs, and they now lead 3-2. In the blink of an eye, the East Hants Mastodons find themselves trailing now 3-2 after enjoying a lead throughout the course of this game. The bottom of the 6th inning, you only got 6 outs left, and you've got to scratch out a run here. 7, 8, 9, Jason Sanford, Patrick Stewart, Aaron Harvey, the scheduled batters for the Mastodons. And boy, Lance, the tables turned awfully quick there in the top of the 6th.
Well, that's the thing about momentum, and you look back at the 5th inning when the Mastodons left the bases loaded. That, of course, gave the Cubs the momentum. They come back now with a couple.
Sanford puts down the bunt, the throw. Did it take him off the bag? No, it didn't. As that surprised everybody here in the ballpark, but that ball just kind of died in the soft dirt in front of home plate. And give Adam Dearborn all the credit in the world. He pounced on that and made a good, strong throw, and they get Jason Sanford.
Well, that was a beautiful bunt by Sanford. With the spin, that ball dropped dead, almost center in front of the plate and stayed there. Dearsy did a good job of popping out of the crouch and getting it over there in time. So, hey, defense, offense, contagious to defense.
Upstairs off the screen. If that ball rolls another 2-3 feet, I don't think they get him, but it just hit that soft dirt and spun there in the dirt right in front of home plate.
Right center field of the Echo field. You're invited to enjoy your favorite Molson.
Stewart lifts this one up in the air. Adam Hiller will settle under that with 2 hands for the second out of the inning. And 3 pitches, and Ryan French has got 2 out.
No, and if you're the Cubs, again, you've got the Mastodons now shaking their heads. All of a sudden, you've been cruising along. You've had the lead and a little bit of leeway. And
well, they catch a break here. It's illegal pitch called on Ryan French. So Patrick Stewart will come back to the plate. The Blue Crew injecting themselves into the game.
Well, I mean, all I can say to that is let the players determine what happens here, illegal pitch or not. I mean, the ball's popped up, and that's really the reality of the situation. I don't think that whatever it is that Ryan French did allowed him an advantage. And
that's the rule, though. The offense gets to choose. If a illegal pitch is batted, then you can't do sorry, let me backtrack and start that one over. If an illegal pitch is batted by the batter, then you can choose the outcome of the play, or you can take the illegal pitch.
So similar to football, NFL, whether or not you can decline the penalty or you accept it.
Exactly. Okay. So in this case, because it was a pop-out, they are not going to take the outcome of the play, obviously. If he'd have hit a home run, you certainly would take that. So back in the box, Patrick Stewart, and we will all scratch out F4 in our scorecard unless he does it again. And he's going to ground out to Adam Hiller instead. So we'll scratch the F, and we will write a -3 in the scorecard, and 1 extra pitch to no avail.
Well, that's just justice, in my opinion. So I think that's just the way things should go.
2 down in the inning. Now 4 pitches instead of 3, and Aaron Harvey will step into the plate. Aaron, RBI single back in the second inning. They want to set the table right now, and it's Andy Chase, the scheduled batter. Now you can substitute for Andy Chase, but he cannot re-enter because he is not a starter. And this one is drilled out to the left on his horse. Ide is not going to get that. That one hops the fence. Aaron Harvey's going to come around second, throw out the parachute, and be content with a 2-out double.
And I think a good decision. The relay throw was coming in actually pretty quick from Blake Underwood. So a good job there by Aaron Harvey to not risk it. Knowing that you're trailing by a run, give your team a chance here to capitalize.
You're now in scoring position. Do not make the final out of the inning over at third base. And I think we are getting a pinch hit. Well, it's Duffy is going to return to the game. And you spoke to Duffy a couple of innings back, and he said that he was trying to get that knee loosened up. It was locking up on him.
Well, that's the thing. When you have that type of knee injury, it's the weather and the cold that will stop it from getting warm and staying warm. A warm knee is a knee that stays flexible and keeps moving. If it gets cold or you sit for a long period of time, then you're going to have some difficulty. So I'm sure he's standing in the dugout. I definitely saw him standing, and he's a gamer, so he's back out there trying to help his team.
Down low from Ryan French. 2 balls. 2 balls is what's shown on the scoreboard. I thought maybe they might have asked on the first pitch. Here's a chopper on the infield, but that's going to go foul as Matty Lyon will go pick that up just foul on the left side. And I didn't see any issue with Duffy running down towards first. He didn't look hobbled at all.
Well, usually what happens with that type of knee injury where your knee locks, and you're okay to go forward, you're okay to go backwards, but it's your lateral movement where you really struggle. So anything as far as getting out of the box might be difficult, and rounding the bases.
And chop foul at the plate. So 2 balls, 2 strikes on Jay Duffy. Aaron Harvey, a 2-out double. The 9-batter is 2 for 3 with an RBI today. That's a good day for Aaron Harvey. He'll take that. He would love to be crossing the plate in the next 10 seconds or so. Upstairs, ball 3 from Ryan French.
Well, French had took a long look at the home plate umpire and figuring that, well, you're right, and that was a bit outside, but was he getting that call earlier is the question. You got to figure if you were getting it earlier and it's a ball, that as the game goes along, chances are you continue to throw it there, you may not get that call.
Now batting the center fielder.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, runner on second. Inside, ball 4. Duffy comes back off the bench and works a walk. And we'll get to Tyler Wynot. Tyler, a similar situation against Devin McCullough earlier in the week. Deposited one over the fence. That could be a tall order.
Now batting for Eastham.
Especially into the teeth of the gale here. And we'll get a pinch runner. So that's going to be it for Duffy as number 55 for the East Hants Mastodons. Jacob Hopewell will come out and run for the Mastodons and for Jay Duffy. So a gritty plate appearance and works a walk.
I think that Ryan French should have known, guys dealing with a bit of an injury, you come inside. And it's awfully tough for a hitter to get around on that because you've got either your plant foot that's going to give you issues or your follow-through foot. And, he kept him outside and wasn't able to find the strike zone when he needed to.
Tyler Wynot 0-1. Swing and a miss, now 0-2.
Well, this is big here for Ryan French and the Cubs. Very important to get this final out here and give yourself a chance to pad your lead heading into the 7th.
And this one, there's a little flare. That's going to fall in front of left field. Here comes one, and we got ourselves a tie ball game. Tyler Wynot coming through in the clutch.
Found that no man's land out there in shallow left field and dumped it there, and couldn't have come at a better time for Tyler and the Mastodons.
Well, it didn't get very much of that, but just enough to punch it out to short left. It dropped just inside the line, too. So fortune smiling on Tyler Wynot and the Mastodons right now. A 3-3 ball game, and gee, look who's up. One of the best hitters in the world, Nick Shales.
Well, again, pinch runner, I would have liked to have seen a little more of a threat going from first to third on that. There's 2 away. You got to figure the play's in front of you. And I think with some better base running, you would have had runners at the corners here for Nicky Shales and a chance to get a 1-run lead and restore that lead that you had here with a hit.
There's that outside rise ball called for a strike. No balls, 2 strikes on Shales. Nick is 2 for 3 on the day. And that one is well outside. Not going to get Nick Shales to chase that pitch. Not very often, at least. Hopewell out at second. Wynot at first. And Shales reaches out and fouls that outside drop ball to the screen. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 down. We got ourselves a tie ball game again here in the 6th inning.
First baseman number 9, Kevin McDonald.
Perhaps not a scoreless extra inning thriller, but in its own way, a real good ball game here between Nova Scotia and Ontario. Upstairs to Shales. These two, of course, teammates throughout the summer on the Hill United Chiefs. And right back up the middle, Mitchell can't get a glove on it. Hopewell is going to come around to score. Wynot's going to try to go to third. Head first slide safe, and Nick Shales into second base.
Well, that's just what Nick Shales does. He comes through in the clutch, and again, you talk about a flipping of the switch. Mastodons come through here, 2-out rally, and just like that, you come into the inning down a run, and now you're up one.
This all started with Aaron Harvey, a 2-out double.
Now batting at center fielder, Joel Eisenberg.
No sign of activity in the Cubs bullpen. Looks like it's going to be Ryan French here the rest of the way. Joel Eisner, the cleanup batter, with 2 runners in scoring position and an opportunity for the Mastodons to extend this lead that they have regained.
Well, it'll be important here if they can put another run up on the board and give themselves a 2-run cushion.
Had a notion to chase that pitch outside, but didn't go after it. I want to welcome our good friend Janet Boland back to the booth. Swing and a miss by Eisner downstairs. 1 ball, 2 strikes on the cleanup hitter.
Well, that's the pitch I think that French has been wanting to utilize, but hasn't been able to effectively, hasn't been able to find that on a consistent basis.
And just off the outside corner, as you said, he hasn't been consistent enough with it to get that call, and that one clearly off the corner. So Dearborn will go out and have a chat with Ryan French. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. 2 runners in scoring position for the East Hants Mastodons. Donnelly Archibald awaits on deck, would love to get another crack at Ryan French. And this one is punched out over the head of Adam Hiller. Here comes Wynot to score. Shales is in to score. And Joel Eisner cashes them both.
Well, you look at Eisner and you talk about a good piece of hitting there. Didn't try to do too much with it. Took the pitch where it was thrown to him and deposited it into shallow right field. And those are 2 big runs for the Mastodons.
Certainly no panic on the side of the Nova Scotia team after giving up those runs in the top of the inning. And here we are here in the bottom, and they've scored 4 and counting. Downstairs to Archibald.
Now batting the right fielder, number 17.
Well, the Mastodons have taken the right approach here. You don't see too many guys chasing too many bad pitches.
And Archibald will flare this out into short center. That's going to fall over the head of Hiller as well. And Joel Eisner will make the smart decision and just go station to station up to second base. And for Ryan French right now, it's just kind of death by 1,000 cuts. Aaron Harvey hit the ball hard, but all the rest of them have just been little Texas leaguers just out onto the grass.
And those are tough ones to handle. They're getting the job done. I mean, so offensively, you got to be happy with the result. Defensively, you got to figure, there's not a whole lot you can do about those. They're dumped into places where there just isn't anyone there. And quite frankly, that's really the name of the game.
As Wee Willie Keeler said back in the day, hit them where they ain't.
I thought Joe Todd said that.
Well, he's almost as old as Wee Willie. 1 hopper into the glove of Frenchie. They get out of the inning as Jonah Wright grounds out, the 9th batter of the inning. But the Mastodons score 4 big runs, and they will take that into the top of the 7th, leading 6-3.
Post it right there. See what oh, wow. Let's talk about this one. We'll repost it right there. There you go. Here's it for you. Can you custom it? Tell you though.
He knows what it is.
You know how to find it. I like it there.
Leading off the seventh inning for Kitchener, Brad Thompson.
Some defensive changes for the Mastodons here as they get set for the top of the seventh inning. Donnelly Archibald, as the designated player, will come into the game defensively. He will move over to first base, and Patrick Stewart, who has been at first base for the entire tournament, will get a different glove. Hopefully he got a different glove, and move over to second base.
Just glad you didn't call him Captain Jean-Luc Picard again.
Or Charles Xavier.
Or Charles Xavier, one of the two.
Brad Thompson at the plate. Brad 0 for 2, a pop-up and a strikeout. And again, how quickly the fortunes turn. That sixth inning was a game in and of itself. As the Cubs plated 2 in the top, the Mastodons respond with 4 in the bottom. And this has kind of been the week for the Mastodons. They've been challenged a lot. They've responded quite often, and they went with that 5-1 record. They took second spot in the round robin. The Cubs lost the first 2 on opening day and came back with 4 straight wins to nail down third spot. So both of these teams do have the double life. This isn't the end of the tournament for whoever loses this game. They'll drop down into that single life division, and they will play one of the Boulier Rustlers or the winner of another game later this afternoon. That would be the Saskatoon Angels, who beat the Chetty's Pretty Boys. So they'll play one of those two teams.
Mastodons have done a good job of, I guess the analogy to use is a very good counterpuncher. They seem to have done a good job of answering throughout this week.
Thompson up the middle. Patrick Stewart will go over and get that to his right and make a good throw to Archibald for the first out of the inning. And as it seemingly always does, the ball finds the guy who's in a new position.
That always seems to happen, you're right. So when you do go into a ball game, you better expect that that ball's going to come to you sometime, and it's usually very soon.
It inevitably is. Brian Eit hit by a pitch and scored in the third, grounded out on a high hopper in the fifth. 1-2 hopper to Nick Shales. He'll make the easy throw over to first for the second out of the inning. And the Mastodons are an out away from punching their ticket to the winner's bracket final here. A potential, well, I guess it is, it's a rematch of last year's gold medal game.
Number 20.
Blake Underwood stands in their way right now. Blake, a couple of strikeouts this game, once looking, once swinging. And that's uncharacteristic for Blake. There's about a 45-footer right into the chest protector of Jason Sanford.
Attention, foul.
And outside, that'll actually skip off the glove of Sanford.
Sanford was trying to frame that pitch just a little bit too fine.
Yeah, tried to pull it in a little bit. 2-0 to Blake Underwood. Adam Dearborn is on deck for the Hallman Cubs if it does get that far. Dearborn had an RBI double back in the third, but that sandwiched around a couple of strikeouts in the first and the sixth. Big cut comes up empty. Cubs have got to get a couple of runners aboard. The home run really is inconsequential at this point. Line shot right at Patrick Stewart, who makes 2 of the 3 final outs, moving over from first to second base. And the East Hants Mastodons punch their ticket to the winner's bracket final.
A good ball game, Blair, when you look at the job done by Justin Schofield, and sure, he made a couple of questionable pitches, but the bottom line, when it was all said and done, the offense stepped up and went to work when they needed to, and despite falling behind a run, they were able to come back and not just put up and tie the ball game, but able to give Schofield that 3-run cushion.
Aaron Harvey with a big 2-out double to start that rally in the bottom of the 6th inning. They plate 4, Tyler Wynot and Nick Shales with some RBIs as well. And indeed, the Mastodons, it's the offense bailing out the pitching and the defense here. So stay with us as we will bring you the winner's bracket final, and then one more playoff round game after that here at the 2016 Canadian Men's Fastball Championships.